Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedules to join us today for our first general information session for the Undergraduate Research Symposium here at Tallahassee State College. We are really excited for you to join us to learn more about how you can get involved in our premier event in the spring. And so before we get started and before we have time for question and answer, I do want to do just a couple of introductions. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to our undergraduate research program chair. Could you introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, I'm Dan Benet. I'm professor of English and also chair of the undergraduate research program. So that's a rotating position. I'm currently the one that leads the group of faculty and staff and administrators that puts all of this on, but that mostly means I send a lot of emails to people, and if you decide to participate, you'll be one of the recipients of those emails. I'll be talking for a little bit later on in the presentation.
Thank you. So next up is Dr. Renee Gordon, and unfortunately she was not able to make it today, but she is also a part of our committee hosting workshops this semester and next as we lead into the events. My name is Sam DeZerga, and I'm the director of our Learning Commons here at TSC, and I'll also be assisting with workshops this semester. And then I'm also joined by
Greg Shaver, I'm a writing specialist here at the Learning Commons.
And Shakita Allen, I'm a reading and writing specialist here in the Learning Commons as well.
And my name is Erica Williams. I am a biology professor here at TSC.
And so a very quick outline of what we'll be covering this afternoon. We'll talk a little bit about this symposium in general, why you should participate, what is the Undergraduate Research Symposium. Then we'll go into the different types of research projects. And if you have any questions about those, you can definitely ask at that time. We'll go a little bit into the guidelines for each of those research projects. Then we'll talk about resources available to you as you get ready to participate in the event. And then at the very end, if you have any other questions, we'll open up a time and space for you to do so. All right, and with that, I am going to turn it over to Dan, who will be talking a little bit more about what is the undergraduate research.
All right, thanks everybody, and good afternoon again. First question on your minds might be, what is a symposium anyway? That is not a word that we go around saying it all the time, and so just a little note on that. So that's a kind of simplistic definition, but I think we can define it as a meeting at which scholars present their research to other scholars. We could probably also swap out the term professional, a meeting at which professionals present their work that they've done to other people. And so that's part of what the Undergraduate Research Symposium is meant to do, or what it's meant to do in part is to give students an opportunity to sort of get exposed to doing that. It is something that guaranteed you are going to do at some point in your career if you major in any four-year degree and go into a traditional profession. You will go to a symposium, you'll go to a conference, which is pretty much synonymous with a symposium. You'll present work that you've done, and this gives you some exposure to doing that. And I guess that's one of the benefits too, is that it kind of gives you exposure to doing that kind of thing. So that's what a symposium is, and now the undergraduate research part. So what's an undergraduate research program? And so we can say these are programs that provide opportunities for undergraduate students to conduct real-world research and collaboration with a professor, which can mean different things depending on what your subject area of interest is, what your discipline is. Probably also worth mentioning that colleges and universities all over the country have undergraduate research programs, and we'll touch on that a little bit more later in the presentation, but something that's very common around the country, so something you'll probably be exposed to in the future also when you transfer to one of these big illustrious universities, as most of you are likely planning on doing. Okay. And I think that brings us to the why participate. And I love this format because we're just going to ping pong back and forth here, and you don't have to listen to one person for too long here. So whoever's up next.
Yeah, so let's talk about why you should participate in the Undergraduate Research Symposium. So undergraduate research allows you a chance to participate in hands-on learning. For many, it's a chance to get out of the classroom, to work alongside a faculty member on your research, and to do some really cool things. If you've had a chance to attend the Undergraduate Research Symposium before, you know a little bit about the different projects that have been completed. And if you have any ideas, I would definitely suggest speaking with one of your faculty members to talk about potential projects. It also teaches you valuable professional skills that are transferable, not just in the workplace, but when you go to transfer, if you are planning to transfer to a four-year institution, these are skills that you're going to be able to take and apply in those classes. Because as you are completing your general education courses here at TSC, when you go over to a four-year institution, those classes are going to be much more specialized, where you'll be able to apply some of those research skills, analytical skills, leadership skills, decision-making, attention to detail. All of these are put into action, and you'll get to practice these skills as you participate in undergraduate research. And we've already mentioned this. Universities like it. And so who here is interested in transferring to a four-year institution? Okay. Awesome. So that might be FSU, that might be FAMU, that might be another institution. And undergraduate research is a highly valuable experience when it comes to transferring to universities. And adding research skills onto your resume may just be that thing that puts your application at the top of the pile. And I'll also say that if you are thinking about going to graduate school, this research experience could also help you as you go to apply, especially with that resume, but also letters of recommendation. And especially if you win. I mean, let's talk about what happens if you win. We have some cash prizes involved as well for those who place in first, second, and third place in all of our award categories. And so we're going to go ahead and announce this year's event. Our Undergraduate Research Symposium is a one-day event held every spring, and this year it will be on Wednesday, March 27th, 2025. Students can present projects in any discipline. And so we're not just looking for science, technology, engineering, and math. We're also looking for folks in the social sciences, folks in the humanities, communications. We're looking for a variety of disciplines to involve in the symposium this year. There are multiple presentation styles and formats to choose from, and we'll talk a little bit more about what those presentation styles are in just a moment. And once again, cash prizes involved, which is always a perk. Now I'm going to turn it over to Greg and Chiquita, who are going to talk about how to identify a research project and some upcoming deadlines that you'll want to keep track of.
Hi, everyone. Everything sounds great, right? You ready to go? So what do you do next? First thing you need to do is identify a research project. This could be a paper, it could be a project, a creative work that you completed, are currently working on, or plan to complete before, of course, before the symposium, but especially before March 5th, when all your abstract, or when all your artifacts are due. So keep that in mind. It has to be something that you worked on here, while you've been here at TSC. It could be, doesn't have to be for a class. It could be for an organization, it could be for that you belong to on campus, that's okay. But we do want to make sure that you do that while you're a student here, and it has to occur in the 2024 academic year.
Your work should also be research-based. That means you're gonna either create an original work of your own, something that you've come up with, or it can be a review of other research studies, so something that has already been done, but you're continuing the study. You can do that as well. Or it can be a new way of looking at a former or previous study. So that maybe there's a study that has already been done and you want to go back and revamp that study, you can do that as well. But either way, make sure that it is research-based. And what we're gonna do right now is talk about a couple of important dates that you need to keep in mind.
So keep in mind that abstract submissions to the committee to be approved to participate. Wednesday, February 12th, 2025 is the deadline. If you have your project done now, you can submit your abstract now. Submissions open, so you can submit any abstracts you want at any time this semester. My advice, get it done early if you can. The project's done, almost done, get your abstract submitted to the committee and approved. Don't want to wait till the last minute because when that window closes, it will be closed this semester. Your posters, slides for presentations, works of art, and videos for a 3-minute thesis will all be due. Those artifacts will all be due by Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. And the symposium occurs on Wednesday, March 26th, 2025. So note that before spring break, you're going to have.
And now what we're going to do is take a quick look at the past 2024 Undergraduate Research Symposium held this last spring. And it's going to give you a quick glimpse of the event.
The symposium is a celebration at the end of the academic year, so that project students have been working on the entire year that they're really passionate about. You know, they can present them to a larger audience here and really get their work outside of the classroom. My name is Dan Benet. I'm a professor of English, and I'm the current chair of the Undergraduate Research Council, which is the incredibly hardworking group of faculty, staff, and administrators that puts on this event every year and works very, very hard doing it. So we know undergraduate research, that's a very powerful practice and something that is relatively new to TCC, but we've been trying to build this program up for the last 6 years. You know, in the last 2 years though, we've seen a lot of support. We had a lot of interest from students, really exceeded all of our expectations, you know. And I think students are really interested in undergraduate research because, you know, if you think about it, a college class mostly is reporting the results of someone else's research. That's why students are so interested, is they get to really do the things that they're reading about, you know, in their classes. So why on earth wouldn't a student learn how to do research on their own, you know, and that tends to get students' attention. I think that gets everyone's attention.
Okay, now we're going to talk about a little bit about the types of research projects that you can do for the symposium. I'm going to turn it back over to Sam.
Yes. So we are going to talk about the different projects that you can take part in as part of the symposium. So it's not just, you know, when I think symposium, I think posters everywhere. And yes, that is a really big part of the symposium, but there are so many different projects that you can be a part of. First of which being oral presentations. So with the oral presentation, you create a PowerPoint and you will present to a panel of faculty for a maximum of 15 minutes. And then there is a 5-minute Q&A session with the panel afterwards. I believe the panel is made up of faculty. And so you would present in front of them, have those question and answer. And if you are interested in the guidelines, you can find those on our program website on the How to Participate page. It will talk more about a breakdown of what needs to be included in the oral presentation, as well as how to put together your PowerPoint presentation.
All right, so next up, we have our poster presentations, which are pretty similar to the oral presentations. So when it comes to development of your poster, you can use a number of platforms to do that. So of course, you can use the traditional PowerPoint or Publisher, but you have other alternatives such as Canva or Microsoft Sway. So essentially with your poster, you're going to make that presentation design. And you have that one-on-one with your audience to answer any questions that they might have. And you present your full works to your audience. So you have that combo presentation and Q&A session.
Next up is the performing arts presentation, and there are many types of works that fall under performing arts. So we've got music, dance, theater, creative writing. I think I even saw an original film or documentary could also fall under the performing arts presentation. And when you go to put together an abstract for this type of presentation, you'll submit a writing describing your performance. This is a maximum of 10 minutes, and you will need to briefly discuss with audience members and judges about the influences that inspired your performance. Yes, question.
What is abstract? Like,
Good
We
question.
need to get.
Yeah.
that.
It's basically a synopsis of your work.
it's like an overview?
An overview, absolutely. So you don't have to get into any literature that you've reviewed as you were doing your study or creating your project, but it's just an overview. So if you've ever used like Cliff Notes in the past, I don't know if people still use that. But yes, it's just a review of your work.
Yeah, and I think we limit this to what, 100 to 150 words?
150 words.
150 words is the limit, yes. So very short, and kind of preview, a little spoiler. So next week we'll actually be hosting an abstract workshop as well, and we'll host additional ones as we lead up to the deadline to submit those abstracts.
Okay, so next up we have visual arts presentations. So the key with this one is having original works. So I know we live in this AI era where you can just, prompt engineer for days and come up with a beautiful design, but we really do want original works. So even with this one, you would have to submit that synopsis or that overview of what your project or what your artwork is. And then you would present on that. So examples could include an original drawing, photography. If you make jewelry, that's amazing. It's beautiful. You can present that, or it could be mixed media as well. So a little combination of digital work or other. So we do have a number of projects that you really have at your disposal. So you can be as creative as you want to be.
And then finally, we do have the 3-minute thesis. And so I'll ask this question. Would you be able to distill your research down to just one static slide in 3 minutes? It would be tough. But that is the purpose of our 3-minute thesis. It is the only recorded option for our symposium available for students, but it does allow you to kind of distill that research down into something concise for a non-specialist or non-expert audience. You only get one static PowerPoint slide. It has to be visible from the beginning of the 3 minutes to the end of your 3 minutes. And when I say static, no video, no animations, moving images, nothing like that. Just you and your slide. And you can utilize different softwares like Kaltura, Camtasia, Zoom. There's a lot of recording features in Zoom that you can take advantage of, Cam Studio. There are other options as well that you can record with. And then you would be required to submit either an MP4 file, a YouTube link, or something similar for the judges to then play during the symposium and review. And then you would have that opportunity to participate in a Q&A session at the symposium. Any questions? Yeah.
Like, let's say I do visual and do a 3-minute pieces, is that possible?
Are we able to do more than one presentation type?
You can, there is no rule that says you can't submit in multiple categories, so absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that would be as like 2 projects then?
Yeah, I think the guidelines are sufficiently different that you would really have to do, different projects. I don't think we've seen that before. That would be interesting.
Yes, and with the 3-minute thesis as well, we'll have some workshops leading into the spring semester to help folks who are interested in this particular area develop their PowerPoint slide and develop those skills to break your research down into that 3 minutes. All right. I do want to mention very quickly to you our undergraduate research program website. There is a wealth of knowledge on this website. So there is information about the upcoming symposium that you'll find on the homepage for URS. But then there is a link where you can access past symposium programs. You can also take a look at our how to participate page, which will have all of those upcoming deadlines, all of the workshops that we'll be hosting for you to prepare to submit your abstract, to prepare for that poster presentation, to put together a 3-minute thesis. So please take a look at that how to participate page. But even more importantly, I would encourage you to take a look at the guidelines for your presentation type. So underneath presentation types, you should be able to select guidelines for the type of presentation. Please read those, carefully read through those, ask questions if you have them, because we are going to then use those guidelines to judge your presentation. So we want to make sure that you're following those to a T. I mentioned upcoming workshops, so I'm going to turn that over to Greg and Shakita.
Okay, so the first workshop we have is the first thing that you have to submit. An abstract workshop. So if you've never written an abstract before, you're not familiar, or you've seen them, but you're not really sure how to put one together, this is the workshop for you. You can join both online and in person. You'll be in this room here, or you can join via Zoom. The link will be going out. That's on 10/29 at 2. And then in January and February, we're gonna have 2 more. January 28th and February 4th, also at 2, and also probably right here in this room. So keep that in mind. If you don't get it written this semester, you can write it then. During this workshop, we'll talk to you a little bit about the elements of a lit abstract, what it should have, what the committee's kind of looking for, and talk about, summarizing and getting your point across effectively. We'll show you some examples, and we can guide you to other examples, which you can gather here. So we're looking forward to seeing you next week. Of course, this information session, if you have classmates, friends who did not get a chance to attend this session, we're holding another in January on the 23rd at 2 p.m. in this room and online. So let them know. And if you'd like to come and maybe ask a few questions, you're more than welcome to as well.
The next type is creating, the next workshop that's coming up in next year will be creating a research poster. So if you decide to choose a poster for your format, we will have a couple of workshops geared towards that workshop, the way to create the poster. And that will be happening next year on February 25th and March 4th at 2 p.m., possibly in this room again. And then if you decide to choose the 3-minute video, there will be a workshop on that one as well. And that will be taking place once next year on February 27th at 2 p.m.
And after spring break, after everything's handed in and you're about ready to present, then we have a pre-symposium Q&A. This gives you the opportunity to come in if you're nervous about perhaps the venue or what's expected, or you have some questions about setup, equipment, things like that. That's the workshop for you to come to. You can come in, we'll have a bunch of us here to answer as many questions as we can. Note that it's well after everything is turned in, so it's not a workshop where we actually work with you on those things. It's more just helping ease your mind about what you're gonna experience the next week. So we would be happy to see you there. That's that.
And I'm gonna turn it over back to Professor Dene. He's gonna talk a little bit about your faculty sponsor.
So another important requirement is that you do have a faculty mentor, faculty sponsor for your project. And I guess the best way to set this up is say, the most important part of this whole thing is the research that you do. It's the work that you do, and that should be guided by a faculty sponsor. And so they will help you with the content of the research, but also the presentation of it. And each discipline, each subject area has its own norms in terms of how things are typically presented at a conference, and so they're going to help you through that aspect of it. So more or less summarizing what I said there. So it is a requirement. Faculty sponsors help you develop the project. This is a good point here, and it's kind of overlapping with the earlier point, but a little more, geared toward the faculty sponsors. So probably the best thing to do is to ask a current or a former professor to serve as your faculty sponsor. Just approach them and say, I'm interested in the Undergraduate Research Symposium. Would you mind serving in this role for me? And most of the time they say yes. They may have already taken on a bunch of students, and so they're too busy for it. If that's the case, just reach out to us. You'll have our contact information on the next slide, and we will make sure that you do have a faculty sponsor. Sometimes it might take a week or two, but we'll get you linked with somebody. That's another good reason to, start planning ahead. Of course, we tell you these deadlines and they're a little bit far off, but it takes time to pull together a research project. And so that's why we want for students to start now. This is, I think, maybe the first step is to find your faculty sponsor, and so we ask students to start working on that now. There is our website again. That's also our email, which is also on the website. So you can send that email. Again, I'm the email guy, so you'll hear back from me pretty quickly, if you send an email to us. And of course, any questions that you've forgotten to ask today at this time, feel free to ask questions. But anytime you have questions, you can reach out, and we'll get right back to you. Okay. So I think that's it, right? We'll open the floor to questions, and I want to go back to that pretty slide that won't let me go back. So blank screen there. Questions. What questions do you have? I'll put that back because it's got the contact information there.
It is in
Yeah.
progress.
It's there,
It should be. There you go.
but I don't know how to share it.
Should we have our topic and stuff picked out by the workshop next week, if you wanna go to that?
No, it's not necessary.
Okay,
Yeah,
I know,
that's a good
writing the
question.
abstract,
Oh, no, yeah, that's due in
I
February.
know it's not due for a while, but I know if we need the topic to do the workshop.
It will help you. We're gonna give you the framework.
Okay.
Mostly to help you in the future, so you don't need it. It's a good question.
Any other question? All right, well, thank you all once again for taking time out of your Tuesday afternoon to learn more about undergraduate research at TSC. We hope to see you at some of our future workshops, and we cannot wait to see your research in March. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
You're welcome.
Good to meet you.